Yeah, so for anyone out there who's been following my latest videos, you know that I replaced the a turbocharger on this vehicle, and ended up having problems with the turbo being not manufactured, not machined correctly, defective on this PCV hose port, to where this PCV hose fitting will not fit onto this port because this turbo wasn't machined correctly. And so that ended up being a big problem for me, but I think might have actually helped me actually diagnose what the original problem was with this vehicle. um, this vehicle was diagnosed by a Firestone, a local Firestone, as having a bad turbocharger. And originally, when it got to me, it only had a P0299 code, which is a engine under boost code. Engine control module P0299, engine under boost. That was the only code in the vehicle. And there's actually all kinds of things, pretty much anything related to the turbo system that can actually cause that code, not actually the turbocharger itself necessarily, but pretty much anything related to the turbo system, air intake system, vacuum leaks, anything can cause that code. So I was a little suspicious of the diagnosis that Firestone supposedly did, but I was just hired to replace the turbocharger and install the new one, not hired to diagnose it. But I think in a roundabout way, I ended up actually, from the problems I had with replacing the turbocharger, actually ended up diagnosing it. I think I can show you the turbo here, and I don't know if I can get this real good, if this will show up real good on the camera, but this turbo does spin. I don't know if, I mean, it's not, it doesn't spin as freely as it probably should, but it's an older turbo. It doesn't spin as freely as the new one does, but it does spin. It does feel like there's some resistance there, and it's not spinning as freely as it should, but you know, it's not bound up, it's not seized up. It does spin. So I don't know if that's good or bad or not. I'm not an experienced at diagnosing turbo problems or not, so I don't know if that's good or not. But it does spin. It's not bound up, but I think I can show you this valve here. This is the a check valve that goes on the end of this PCV valve hose that connects to that port on the turbo. And if I shake this, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on the camera, but there is a valve in here that I can hear moving around. That's probably not getting picked up by my phone, but there is a valve in there that I can hear audibly moving around, and that's the check valve. And according to my understanding of this, you know, it's a check valve, so it should block airflow or vacuum on one side of the valve or the other, and it doesn't do that at all. It allows airflow in both directions, which I can show you, or I don't know if actually I can show it to you on the camera because I got to blow on this thing. Maybe you can hear it in the camera, but if I blow on this port, air will come out of this port, probably heard that. And if I blow on this port, air will come out of this port. Which I don't know if you heard that. But this check valve is bad because air should not flow in both directions. So I'm honestly not sure, but I think this might have been what was actually causing the P0299 code. I've got my repair information pulled up here. I don't know if you can read that, but P0299, and it tells you all these things to check to try to diagnose this code. Verify the conditions listed below do not exist. And it gives you a whole list of things: loose clamps, cracks. My camera's going blurry here right now, losing focus. But it gives you a whole list of things to check. Loose clamps, cracks, or other damage in the air intake duct system, collapsed intake duct system, debris or restrictions, blah, blah, blah. You know, a whole list of stuff. Any airflow, anything to do with the air intake, basically. Blah, blah, blah. Turbocharger wastegate solenoid valve, turbocharger bypass solenoid valve, intake manifold and turbocharger vacuum reservoir on the bottom of intake manifold, turbocharger wastegate actuator, blah, blah, blah. It goes through this whole list. And then it gets down to the bottom here, or close to the bottom here. And my camera is not focusing in, but it says refer to intake manifold cleaning and inspection for inspection of the positive crankcase, ventilation diaphragm, and check valve. Which, that's what this valve is inside here, is the check valve. And this check valve is obviously bad because it allows airflow in both directions. And according to my understanding, and according to this basically troubleshooting tree in my repair information, that could be the cause of this P0299 code and the engine under boost or low boost condition, low power condition, basically. So you know, I don't know if this actually was the cause of the problem, but it makes sense going by what the repair information is saying, and you know, my understanding according to how this valve works. If it's leaking, then that would cause it to lose boost pressure and cause a low boost condition or low power condition or under boost condition, and cause it to set this P0299 code. So you know, this really makes me question whether that Firestone had actually diagnosed this vehicle correctly or not, because you know, I ended up kind of you know, inadvertently, in a roundabout way, figuring out this problem because of the problem I had with this valve not being able to fit onto the new turbo. But to me, it's looking more like this is probably what originally caused that P0299 code and the low power condition and this low boost code, because that turbo is not seized up. It does spin, but this valve is obviously bad because it doesn't hold it doesn't block airflow in either direction. And so this valve has to be bad. And the owner told me he bought a new one of these hoses, and the valve does only have airflow in one direction but not the other. So makes me think that probably the Firestone didn't diagnose it accurately, or you know, maybe I'm just wanting to think a little more highly of my diagnostic skills or something like that, because sometimes I do get a big head about being able to diagnose stuff. But you know, I was questionable about their diagnosis from the very beginning, because it's a Firestone. You know, they're not everybody that works at a Firestone is any kind of a diagnostic tech. You know, they're mostly in the business for tires and, you know, suspension work and oil changes and stuff like that. You know, they don't necessarily hire the cream of the crop diagnostic guys. So I was very questionable about their diagnosis from the very beginning. And you know, now this really makes me wonder if their diagnosis was accurate, you know, because this valve is obviously bad. And according to my understanding of how this valve works and what the repair information says, you know, this valve could have caused the symptoms and this code, which is the only code in the vehicle. And to me, this is in my mind at least, this is a good example of why you want to pay to have your vehicle diagnosed correctly and accurately, and not, you know, not just start throwing parts at it or just take any mechanic's word on it. You know, maybe Firestone was correct in their diagnosis, but you know, this valve here is obviously bad also, and can cause that same condition in that same code. So to me, that's just further reason, you know, why you want to have your vehicle diagnosed accurately. You know, this customer might not have even needed this turbo, and might have just been they might have just needed this hose, and that might have fixed the vehicle. You know, I can't say for sure. I couldn't really say for sure without putting the old turbo back on and putting, you know, if this hose was still intact, putting this hose back on there. But to me, is just the more reason why you want to actually pay to have your vehicle diagnosed accurately and correctly. You know, otherwise, you know, you could be spending a whole lot of money like these people did, which, you know, maybe they did need a turbo. I don't know for sure. But, you know, it happens all the time out there with people taking their vehicles to shops, spending a bunch of money, and their vehicles not being diagnosed accurately or correctly, you know. So to me, this is a pretty good example, because I think they got a good deal on this turbo, but you know, it still wasn't cheap overall doing the job. And now I have to do the job again because this turbo was defective. So it's going to cost them more money, and, you know, me more time and labor. But you know, if the turbo wasn't bad, you know, it would have been cheaper, easier, quicker all the way around, just to have it diagnosed properly the first time and accurately the first time. And you know, it could have saved them a bunch of money, saved me a bunch of time and labor and stuff. You know, not that I'm complaining. You know, I'm happy to do the job and help these people out and make some money off it myself and get some experience. But to me, this is a good example of why you want to actually have your vehicle diagnosed correctly and accurately, and pay for the diagnostics, whatever it costs. Because otherwise you can end up, you know, spending a whole bunch of money just throwing parts at it and never get the problem fixed. But anyway, I hope someone out there found this one interesting. Kind of a little update to this whole turbocharger job on this vehicle. But I'm sure there will be more videos to come, because I'm actually going to have to replace this turbocharger now, because this one is defective, so I'm going to have to do the job again. So anyway, I hope somebody out there liked this, and I will probably talk to you on the next one.